on this episode of the Black Boss Ladies platform.
I knew from a long time ago, but I think what happened was I had this small, silent, not so silent sometimes, voice that was like, well, maybe you're not that smart. And so I'd actually decided that I wasn't going to major in, I wasn't going to go to law school. I decided that I was going to be a molecular biologist, which I know doesn't seem any less challenging.
It's not law school. I'm going to be a molecular biologist because you don't have to be that smart.
I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
Things we convince ourselves.
I think what it was is I really wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And that I thought that if I failed at that everybody would see, oh, she really isn't that smart. So I prayed, I was like, God, I really need, some confirmation about what I should do. Is this the path I should take or not? And I had a dream. I'll never forget this dream. A couple of dreams in my life I'll never forget, but this is one. And we were all in this big room. People were filing in this big room and they were saying, we want you to stand up and declare what you're getting ready to do. And so people saying, I'm getting ready to do this. I'm getting ready to do that. And in my dream, I stood up and said, I'm going to law school. Man,
I got some chills.
What? Because that was the Holy Ghost. This is the thing I find with women sometimes. It's like always a thing that we don't have, yet we want. We're single, we want to be married. We're married, we want to have children. We have children, we want to have a better job. We have a better job, we want to have more money. We have more money, we want to have a bigger place. We have a bigger place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that kind of perpetual idea that there's a fruit that we can't yet have, that maybe being reserved for a certain reason can't be the thing that drives us. Being satisfied, being full, being whole is a measure of success to me.
I love it.
Because if you can't have that, then what good is the external success?
Welcome to the Black Boss Ladies platform, the place where legacies live.
Welcome to the Black Boss Ladies platform podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Lee.
And I'm Julia Myers. And today we have the lovely Joslyn Sandifer here to join us on the Black Boss Lady platform. She is an attorney, a business owner, and a mother. And when I think of Joslyn, one word comes to my mind: excellence. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Intro.
It's true, though. It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, what's the word?
You make it
Ever
easy.
since high school, literally. That's what I think about. Everything we have done, and we're going to get into her story, is just always been at a level of excellence.
Oh, I appreciate that.
They went to high school together.
We did.
I could have gone to high school with them. So, Jocelyn, we always start with the question, what is your definition of success?
Oh, my definition of success is happiness, honestly. I think that a lot of times individuals look at success like you reach a certain plateau, you reach a certain level, and that is a part of it. But what I've come to realize is that there's always a next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to something,
Yep.
there's always something more
You want.
that you want, something more that you aspire to do and be. And I don't necessarily feel like that's wrong because we continue to grow, we continue to elevate, evolve. And so I think that that is a part of human nature to want something more than what you have. But that sometimes will leave you in a position where you feel lacking or inadequate, or you fail to really, what they say, smell the roses or see the value in where you are. So I look at success currently at this age, and it wasn't always like this, because I was a very driven individual. And I really was like on a track.
Yes.
But at this age, I look at success as happiness. And I mean, and all of the other synonyms that go along with that, being in peace, being fulfilled, knowing that you are enough, being satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. And look, something gonna come to try to disrupt that. I got two more, you know what I'm saying? So something always gonna be there to rattle that a bit. but I feel the most successful when I'm happy.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like the art of being content while still in pursuit.
That's right.
Right? So it's not like I'm going after it just because a flower always blooms, but not that I have to do this so I can be more, have more.
Yeah.
But I'm already in my greatness. I'm just going to be happy with that as I do.
Be happy with that every step of the way. I read this book a long time ago, but it's been something that always stuck with me. It was called Single and Satisfied. I'm not single anymore and I have children, but at the time when I read the book, Tony Evans was the author and he's the pastor, but he talked about Eve. Now, y'all don't give Eve a hard time, okay? But he talked about Eve from the perspective of wanting something that you can't have. And he just said that things don't change over time, right? The thing with Eve was she had everything. And I always say, she must have had a banging body because she was naked. Husband that loved different
just walking around,
just all in her glory. She could eat from any tree, save one. She had a husband that had already done all the work. He named all the animals, prepared a place. But the reason the enemy was able to get at her was because she wasn't satisfied. She didn't know that, he picked at a thing. He said, well, you can have it all, but one. And this is the thing I find with women sometimes, it's like always a thing that we don't have, yet we want. We're single, we want to be married. We're married, we want to have children. We have children, we want to have a better job. We have a better job, we want to have more money. We have more money, we want to have a bigger place. We have a bigger place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that kind of perpetual idea that there's a fruit that we can't yet have, that maybe being reserved for a certain reason can't be the thing that drives us.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn happiness and satisfaction and let that be my success. Eve had it all, proverbially, and was successful in a sense that she amassed or acquired a place, a husband, these things that but it was, the enemy was able to come in and say, but what about
I think because when I think about Eve's story too, sometimes the enemy was so slick too because he got her to focus on the one thing that she didn't have, which is lack, right? So sometimes we have all, like you said, all these great things, but then we say, well, I don't have this one thing. I don't have this one thing. So you walk by all your abundance just to look at that one thing that's lack. Right?
And sometimes it's not lack, right? It is preserved for reason. It's just not, it may not be yours. It may not be for you. And, because look, God said, look, for the day you eat of the tree, so he knew it was going to happen. You shall surely die. And the devil said, well, not surely die, because it wasn't maybe going to be immediate, but to really sum it all up, being satisfied, being full, being whole is a measure of success to me.
I love it.
Because if you can't have that, then what good is the external success?
I love that. So let me ask you, because now you're at this place where you're not driving after those hardcore goals as was leading you, right? But that wasn't always you.
No.
It wasn't. So take us back to the beginning of Joslyn.
Yeah, okay.
Well, college.
We don't need to go back to conception.
I don't know. I think she was pretty excellent in high school.
High school too, right? Already?
Yeah, actually.
I would tell you, I was a driven kid. And I've been the same person since I was 6.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
I honestly, I tell people that all the time, I've never had, not so much maybe moments I wasn't trying to figure out like what I wanted to do next, but I've been this person. I've been blessed to be the same person in every setting my entire life. And it's not that I didn't have any insecurities. My siblings were all very driven and naturally smart. And I just thought that I was a hard worker. I actually didn't think I was that smart. I thought that I just worked harder than other people. And so I was really driven, and I just had a path and a plan. I wanted to be successful. I didn't always know what that was going to be, but Miss Smith, if you happen to see this, my second grade teacher, she just said, you talk so much, you should be a lawyer.
Wow.
And I feel like
you knew from a long time ago.
I knew from a long time ago, but I think what happened was I had this small, silent, not so silent sometimes, voice that was like, well, maybe you're not that smart. And so I'd actually decided that I wasn't going to major in, I wasn't going to go to law school. I decided that I was going to be a molecular biologist, which I know doesn't seem any less challenging.
It's not law school. I'm going to be a molecular biologist because you don't have to be that smart to do that.
I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
Things we convince ourselves.
The story.
Absolutely, the lie. And so, well, I think what it was is I really wanted to be a lawyer. And that I thought that if I failed at that everybody would see, oh, she really isn't that smart. And so,
because you wore that badge, like everybody knew, like Joslyn is very smart. That was like,
yeah,
I know we all have a reputation. I was actually telling my husband before on the way here when I was telling him who we were interviewing, and I said, "Have you ever met a family where every single person is successful?" And that's why I asked us to go back, because that would be you guys' family.
Yeah.
What was put into you from your parents?
Jesus. Let's be the rock. Honestly, I don't know. Well, growing up, I didn't feel like what my parents was doing was that unique. I mean, it just was our family. You know what I'm saying? And there are things that I can look back now and say, okay, those may be unique circumstances. And I can for sure say raising kids. I'm like, my house don't look nothing like what my family don't look like. I'm like, I need some more follow through. I don't know if I got enough in my voice.
I be feeling the same way. I feel like I get bumped off.
I mean, I think that I felt, at least at the time, that we had a normal family. We had two, we're in a 2-parent home, but we're in East St. Louis.
I was gonna say, but you're in a 2-parent household when most of your classmates aren't, though.
Yeah, well, but then I went to Jackson, so lots of my classmates
there
did.
Okay. Yeah.
We went to church on Sundays. I mean, but we're really family oriented. I think the thing I can say about my parents is that they were the same people everywhere, and that helped us to be the same everywhere. Even though some people say their parents were in ministry, but they were one way at home and a different way at church. But my dad got up and prayed every day at 4:00 in the morning. My brother will tell the story about hearing him speaking in tongues, waking him up from his sleep because he was downstairs. I was sound asleep, at that time. But my parents were really consistent in who they were. My mom was the first lawyer I knew. She wasn't a lawyer, okay? She went back and finished her degree, her undergraduate degree in her 60s. But when I say she was a lawyer, my mama advocated for everything that she wanted for her children, that she wanted for her family. And if you were in the right, you didn't have to worry because Mama Bear Cheryl was on the way. And so, my parents were just constant. And I think the fact that they were just consistent in what they did, and obviously they were very prayerful over us. They loved us, but I mean that was it. I mean, at the time I didn't think there was any secret sauce to it, because when I had my kids, I'm like, Mama, how did you just, when you're tired, she's like, you just do it. And so when people ask me, I kind of just say you just do, or I say, by the grace of God, because there's not necessarily a secret sauce, but to be consistent. And they just really were that. And that's just kind of, that was it. And I think being the oldest, I didn't necessarily think about setting the bar, but people start saying that, But I always felt like my siblings were so naturally smart. I mean, I felt like they just got it. I don't know that they felt like that, but that was my perception of the situation. That was my perception, especially being in a school where people were high achievers, and so they were like getting top students and stuff like that. And that wasn't really me in the beginning, but I am grateful for where I went to school, because what they used to call soft skills were actually my hard skills. So I did do a lot of acting, speaking. I mean, it was like, Black History programs. I had the opportunity to be the MC or whatever, but those things I was allowed to develop.
I think that is the goal, though.
Yeah.
Because I even think about my secret sauce is the soft skills.
Yeah.
I never was the A student or anything like that, but I could work a room. I could use what we talked about, my mouth.
That's right.
Get to know people and build relationships. So those soft skills are really can get you in rooms that your hard skills can't.
That's right. And now they're looking for people with soft skills.
Because some people don't have them, girl.
With the internet and social media, and people don't talk to one another, and so
now they becoming hard skills.
Me and my aunt was at Walmart checking out. The lady said hardly anything to us, and she was on a full FaceTime call. And I was like, what is happening? Like, people don't have those.
And just know we not at Walmart right now. We're not going to D. That was pre.
The actually is very, very empty too.
Yeah, I had snoops from Big Mama's today. And fish from East St. Louis.
So you go off to school, you go to
the Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. Hell. All my JSU alumni.
Did you go on a track scholarship?
I went on a partial track scholarship, partial academic. And so my dad, look, there are things that they did do. My parents did share dreams with us, expectations with us. I always tell this story about my dad sitting me down. I was in the 8th grade. My brother was in the 7th, which means my sister Janine was in the 5th, and she didn't have any clue what was going on. My daddy was like, look, I know y'all think there's a college fund out there. It ain't. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. And it probably wasn't just like that, but my dad was so transparent.
Yeah.
I can't imagine telling the kid that, but he was like, hey,
no money.
There ain't no money. You think there was one? He also told us there was no Santa Claus. Thanks, Daddy. But he just was a real straightforward person. And I internalized that because I was like, for real, and he always says, you squeezed every bit of orange out of that orange and blue. And I did, because I was just like, I didn't necessarily know what it meant, but I know that if there wasn't no money, how was I going to? So I really, I internalized that. I don't know where it came from, but I know that I saw a girl that graduated. She was number 1 in the class. I was like, I want to do that. I want to be valedictorian. I was like, if that's a thing, then I want to do it. And then if I'm going to run track, I want to be a state athlete, just want to be. And I was like, has anybody been a state athlete and a valedictorian? Because people want to, say you have to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And then that was just from 9th grade. I mean, probably it was God. It was something. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when you're that young here, because I'm just thinking about you ain't, I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I wasn't thinking track or none of that. Those things but to be that forward.
I mean, when your daddy tell you there ain't no money, I don't know that I would have been independently that forward thinking.
Yeah.
That conversation was sobering. It meant, I'm using that word now, something clicked when I was 12, 13 years old.
And people be afraid to have those conversations with their children like that.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because it's something that you're not necessarily thinking about, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you thinking that the college money is coming from the college money fairy fund.
Exactly. Because we don't think about that.
Exactly.
That's what I never thought about money one time when I was getting ready to go.
I would not have until Joseph Anthony III said he ain't no money. Right. And we laugh and joke because my sister Janine was like 10. And not, she like, what? Why am I having this conversation?
Right.
But so it did mean something. And prior to that, my dad always said that he believed that we were all going to go to college for free. He told him that the Lord had told him that he didn't have to worry. And so we didn't worry. That's faith.
Did y'all all go to school for free?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
See, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't.
Undergrad, because law school, you know.
Yeah, the back one.
But,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, his faith took us, and I mean, it took us, and I did get a scholarship to law school, but I needed assisted living.
Mhm.
But his faith translated into our faith. I believed that I was going to go to school for free, and when I got offers that weren't full offers, because then it started getting scary to my parents' chagrin in the beginning. They
and you the first one.
Yeah,
so
what you doing turning it down? I said, you said we was going for free. Because by that time, it was internalized. And so I actually had gotten into U of I. All my homegirls was going to U of I.
They all went there.
You know, and so I was like, but then they didn't offer me a full scholarship. And I was like, well, no. And Jackson State offered me a partial, and I said no. And then they said, well, because I did graduate number 1. So then I got an academic
Okay, you
scholarship.
did?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the thing
Congrats.
thank you. I wanted and did. And so, so then I got a full scholarship to Jackson State. And when I got the peace of God to go to Jackson State, that's when I decided I was going to major in political science, because I've been wrapped in lots of science things up until that point. Science found me, and my brain just clicked with it. And so even though I hadn't been like at Jackson, one of the elite, I started working my way up, because once science found me, that was it. I found something I could do.
So let me ask you this. So when was it that you gave up the molecular biology?
So what happened was, I think what it was, I kind of turned into this science person in the arena that I was in. And I felt like, and most of my scholarships, matter of fact, U of I did end up offering me a full scholarship, but I was going to have to major in agriculture.
Oh yeah, they were giving a lot.
They were giving a lot of people those scholarships,
and I
had
a few people in 2000 that went on those scholarships.
That went on those scholarships, and because we had all done previous programs, and so
like
we had done summer programs and
mm-hmm.
things like that, and you become friends with the professors and all these things, and so they say, you know, they're going to give you a full scholarship.
Yep.
And I remember my dad was like, "You're not going to take that?" I said, "No, I ain't already prayed about Jackson State. You said that was right? This is where we're going." So when I got from underneath kind of that cloak, I said, I'm going to try political science, because I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. I just didn't want to. I didn't want people to know I wanted to be a lawyer, because I didn't want that expectation. Because at that point, I had this expectation of being smart, but I secretly thought I wasn't that smart.
So even after graduating number one in the class,
right?
I thought I worked on
and
those
y'all it was competitive.
Oh, it was competitive to the last minute.
Yeah,
to the last minute. I love you, Teresa.
Teresa did,
She was number 2.
She was.
But it was competitive. I mean, it was very competitive.
And it was, and you know what? And it was different. I think it's different for women than it is for boys, as far as the sports goes, because it seems like a lot of male athletes, the basketball stars, the football stars, people give them a little bit of a grace. They give it, you can turn it in. Later on, they give them a little higher grade. You know what I'm saying? Whereas women, they don't necessarily. But the women, you run the track and everything, you need a little grace too.
You figure,
and they don't really, because it's not that. Oh, you're not gonna be pro. You're not Jackie, or you Jackie Jordan, right?
I don't even know if my teachers knew I ran track. I remember one teacher, like if they kept up with sports, because our track team was excellent.
It was good.
It wasn't like it wasn't a really good track team. We were really good. We were competitive in state every year. Placed every year, but but I was just a student in the class. And I do think because, football, basketball, those things are prominent.
Those are really big.
Unless you had a teacher. I had a few teachers that were just into track. So if they were into track, then they would say, oh, well, I know this or that. But I don't even remember any of my teachers, like the ones that I took, really knowing or caring. I mean, I guess unless I had to leave early,
Yeah.
to go to a track meet or something. But no, when I got from under that cloak, and looking back at it, it's crazy that I still was like secretly maybe I'm not that smart, but that carried that.
That's a lot of pressure though. When you're thinking about, like, when I think back to those high school years, like the kids that were in like the top 10, I feel like they did put a lot of pressure on y'all. Like like a lot of pressure, a lot of competition, and it was like those smart kids.
It was for sure. I feel like it was as
so
competitive.
That can make you kind of mess with yourself a little bit.
It was as competitive as sports, could be, and it wasn't. I was a confident person, but I was confident in the things that I was confident in, and again, I don't know what that was. I don't even know what that was.
It's just the script that we pick up and we go with.
And so my thought of being a hard worker, because I thought I was a hard worker, I didn't necessarily think that the aptitude went with it. I just found a way to really work to win and to make it work. And it took me being older to recognize like, oh, okay, well, not so much that I thought I was a dummy, but oh, okay, there's some smarts there. But I just thought it was, and I was like, at some point, somebody gonna figure this out. And I thought that law school...
It's the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. We didn't have words for that.
We didn't. And if somebody would say that to me then, I wouldn't even know what they were talking about.
I didn't even know what they were talking about. So that's true. So I didn't have a word for it. And I was like, man, law school is the real deal. I can fool all these folks. But when I get to law school...
Which it is really the real deal.
It's the real deal. I was like, when I get to law school, that's when it's all going to...
That's when you're going to figure out I'm not that smart.
Yeah, they're going to figure out my secret.
But I feel like you still knew at a core that you were going, though. Even though, because you say you did political science, you get there. When do you declare that space, like political science?
My first semester, I took a course and I called my mom and I said, I found it. It just resonated with me. And I tell people, I was born to be a lawyer. Now, I might not have wanted to, I didn't want people to know. I mean, people were saying I was going to be a lawyer. And Dawn Harper, she always talks about how I would just go at Coach Miller, like, I ain't going to be no lawyer. You can't tell me I'm going to be a lawyer. But I'm a big sister. I'm the oldest cousin, like all of these spaces. And I love advocating for people. I love that, when I was in high school, I was a big, big talker. Probably a gossiper too. Hate to admit, but I just love being in the, being in it and in the know and talking and, representing, individuals. I always had that advocacy in me. And then when I got into political science, I was like, this is it. This is it. I love this.
That's great, because I took one class and I said, this ain't it. And I went and dropped it.
You know what? It's interesting, because when I was in college, I was moving through work so fast. They were like, oh, well, you should take a double major. And political science was the second major that they said, oh, try this. I was like, oh, no, I'm good.
I was playing with the idea because I majored early, business marketing, went in, went out with it. But I was like, let me just go see what political science is about. Because, I think we all...
It's interesting.
But the guy, I think it all comes back to the teacher. I get in the class and I'm in there one day and he said 60% of students flunk my test. And then you have to brief these cases, and I went and dropped it. Because if you didn't tell me right there and there 60% of people fail your class, then I'm probably going to be that 60. So I might as well go on.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's good now.
That's why HBCUs, I feel like,
it's been a reckoning going on in education now that that professor wouldn't be able to even teach now.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's too much hand holding and back adding and oh my goodness, it's terrible. But
you need some balance.
You do need balance, because you had people like that who were. I mean, but also, if 60% of the people failing your test, back then it's something that you're doing wrong.
Exactly. Maybe he was a lawyer. There was this kind of ideology in law school. I don't know that they said this to me when I went to law school. But the idea was like, look to the right, look to the left, the people on the side of you, one
No,
of
they
you.
said that's to the business school too.
Okay, yeah.
First
so
day.
people, that was kind of like a mantra that they use. I'll tell any young aspiring lawyer though, major in whatever you want. Major in whatever you want. And get A's. Get A's in that thing. Matter, huh? Because it really doesn't matter. Most, I always add this caveat because most schools are still set up historically in a way where they're going to offer legal courses in their political science departments or in their English departments. And that also means that law school information is typically found there. But go on and major in business, major in chemistry, major in biology. I may have done that if I would have known that I could have had that liberty because, you have to have a science degree to become a patent lawyer. And I really did love science. I just didn't know how to reconcile that at the time. But I didn't have to. One of my friends that I graduated law school with had a chemistry background. So you can major in what you want, but I would still find my way to the political science department. Why? Because your information about your LSAT, your information about law school is still going to likely be very much so connected to those departments. And maybe you can take a course or two. But look, that's not going to be reflective of law school. What you need for law school, and we're talking about 20-something years ago now. So 25 years ago. 20, what you need typically are good grades and a good LSAT score. But now they're considering things outside of just your LSAT score, which, listen, I could get into the historical negatives of that test anyway. Now, it doesn't test the aptitude of minorities, nor was it designed to do that. Right. Needless to say, they look at a number of other metrics to make a determination about a person going to law school. So if you have other interests, pursue those interests because those interests actually may make you a better lawyer. When you go to
well-rounded thinker.
A well-rounded thinker. And absolutely.
When I see people doing like trial law, I even see how the space of storytelling comes in place.
Right? Oh yeah, for sure.
Those kind of things and communication. So
communications. Like I said, music. I know an excellent attorney whose background is in music. But when you start thinking about compositions and, the analytics of it, you can see that the structure of courses like that help your brain think critically.
That's what it is. That's what business school is about, just being able to see things differently. And a young lady I was talking to recently asked me, like, how did you become like that? And when you think about it, all those classes and cases, like, we're literally shaping our brain to be critical thinkers, to think at a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how was law school?
I actually enjoyed law school.
See? I was gonna ask her how was running track and before we get to law and undergrad. Yeah, but law school.
Undergrad was great. I loved it. I went to the best HBCU. I had so much pride in my school. I felt empowered to do and be anything. And because I still question whether or not I could go to law school, I never forget, I had taken the LSAT. And I was, my teachers wanted to know my scores. I was real coy about sharing them because I didn't think they were good enough. And they were like, they are. And you're going to law school. I was like, I need to get a master's first. You going straight to law school. They're like, they gave me all these statistics about students that, go to grad school first or take detours, how they don't get back. Yeah. Now, some people do get back, right? But they're just talking about general statistics. And then the Lord told me I was going to law school. I'll never forget. I just a side note, I had a dream. And I was like praying. I was like, God, what should I do? I was nervous. Now all of my fears and apprehensions are like laying out.
Right there.
Right there. I did go on and take the LSAT, but I'm like, oh, should I? So I'm hemming and hawing about it. And 3 different things happened. One, I was sitting in the political science class, and I looked over, and there was a sign. Now, this sign probably was there all semester. I don't know. I'd never seen it before. I looked over and said, "Prepare yourself. You're going to law school."
Well, this was a literal sign, or
it was an actual sign. It wasn't, no. You could take you could rip off. It was just it
but
may
it
have
wasn't
been there.
It wasn't in your space.
It wasn't in my space. Yeah, I hadn't seen it, but I saw it this day, and it was a time when I was in prayer, like, what should I do?
Okay.
And you could like rip off this little, it's like one of them things you could like rip off and, sign up for the LSAT or do different things. But when I saw it, I was like, that's a sign. Is that how you do Jesus?
Yeah. Just to put the sign on the wall.
If you needed a sign, this is it.
Okay, y'all don't listen. Pay attention to these signs.
You do need to pay attention.
And I will say, it was the first time I made my choice to go to Jackson State on my own, but this was like a real adult decision. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing, and then the other thing is I was like, okay, that was weird. I didn't know where to put it in, what category to put it in. I went home. I was back to my dorm, and I don't know if it was that day or a few days later, I prayed. I was like, God, I really need, some confirmation about what I should do. Is this the path I should take or not? And I had a dream. I'll never forget this dream. A couple of dreams in my life I'll never forget, but this is one. And we were all in this big room. People were following in this big room, and they were saying, we want you to stand up and declare what you're getting ready to do. And so people saying, I'm getting ready to do this. I'm getting ready to do that. And in my dream, I stood up and said, I'm going to law school. Man, what?
I got some chills.
What? Because that was the Holy Ghost. That was the Holy Ghost. He hadn't worked in me like that, though.
Well, thank you for that song.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was saying. And look, I still don't think it was enough.
Oh,
This is like one of those dreams. This is like one of those things that they tell me.
You just need him to come sit on your lap.
And he know that.
Girl, go.
Listen, he knows that. He knows that. He know his children. So then I was like,
that's trust though.
Listen, I was like, so I don't know if it was the next day, but all of these things happened in sequence. We got a new track coach. And she said, Joslyn, I've heard about you. I heard a lot about you and everything. She said, you're going to law school, right? I said, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was the thing you said.
That was
yes.
it. And when I got to law school, speaking of being a different person before, I was on like a proverbial hamster wheel. I wanted to do everything right. Somebody says, I'm going to do what I so constant. I enjoyed law school because I literally felt like I was where I should always be.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So was it challenging? Because I know we've interviewed.
Oh yeah, I'm crazy.
Yeah,
so
okay. I was gonna say you love it, but because I always just remember watching TV and see the people going back and forth. How to Get Away with Murder when they was in law school. Yeah. That's all.
No, law school was totally intense. It's a different way of approaching thinking. Mm-hmm. I took this continual legal education, which everybody has to take these CLEs, and this forensic psychologist got up and he talked about why attorneys have mental health issues. Mm-hmm. And he said, because when you go to law school, they literally revamp how you think. They break your brain down and they build it back up. He said, he gave an example. He said, you can ask 100 people, like if a person's walking across the street and it's a no walking sign, if they walk across the street, is it illegal? And 100 people are going to say, nah. Yeah. They're going to say, yeah, that's illegal. It's no sign of, you have 100 lawyers, they're going to say, it depends.
It depends.
And it is hard.
Sounds like my stats teacher.
Yeah, it's hard to give a straightforward, it really is hard for me, even, basically outside of Jesus, it's hard for me to give a straightforward answer.
Even to this day?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because you're saying, so do they make you think in different perspectives? Like they make you see it from every angle? So you could argue in law school, you're required to extract information from other people's answers. So when we're in general school, you get a book, you read it, and lots of times it's about memorization, or it is your understanding, but they don't really teach you to think though.
But they don't necessarily think you to think. And in law school, you open up they probably it's all online now, but back in the day, I cracked the actual book. And inside that book I'll never forget, when I went to do my reading for the first time, it was just cases. Mm-hmm. Just cases. There wasn't any info. It wasn't
like, this is the lesson. We're going to
so I'm
practice practice part and then
what?
Because each case, you gotta break it down for yourself.
Just reading the case. So my first class was civil procedure, and we're just reading cases. So when you get to class and like you do, everybody, did you do the required reading? Yes, and it totally legally blind got it right. Because when they say, all right, what is, what happened in this case, they're just extracting, they call it the Socratic method. I've heard it's less intense now because, babies the Generation Z, y'all kind of breaking down.
Too much pressure.
When they're just asking and grilling you about information that you haven't yet really been able to quantify. But needless to say, the teacher, as he's pulling information, asking these questions, you're supposed to extract the applicable law, right? So what you're taking from a case is the applicable law. And then when you have tests, these tests aren't like fill in the blank, like, hey, Roe versus Wade. No, the tests give you fact-based scenarios. And then you apply what you've extracted from sitting in those courses and apply it to those circumstances. And the better students, apply it well. The even better students remember the cases that are applicable to these types of circumstances.
Wow.
And then the best students find ways to draw conclusions from all of those things.
So when we see people in court and they be like, well, according to this lawsuit in 1853, they said this, and I'm going to apply it to this case right here.
I'm going to apply it to this case because, these circumstances and facts are very similar. And so we encourage the court, employ the court to, follow this precedent because it was already set. And then you're looking at how judges or justices came to those conclusions, and they've done so either because they are, sometimes constitutionalists. They believe that the Constitution is living and breathing, and so, in that sense, there's space and room for modification, but fundamentalists don't believe that. They believe that the black letter law doesn't necessarily change, and so you should, but that don't make sense.
It's very subjective then.
Yeah, everything changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's different. Law school, the biggest challenge for me in law school initially was that I was on a scholarship. And the scholarship wasn't based on grades, it was based on rankings. And so, because
they go that competition.
They go that competition. Gotta be number one. I gotta be in the top third. And I didn't necessarily, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm here. I didn't really even realize what that meant. I just felt like if I make good grades, then I'll be in the top third. But that's really, if you're in
everybody's making grades.
Or everybody's making average grades. It depends on what type of law school you go to. Again, this probably has changed, but 20 years ago, when you went to law school, every school had a curve. Either they had a C curve, a C plus curve, a B curve, or a B plus curve. And what that just meant was that if there's 60 people in your class, 50 of y'all gonna make C's.
And so where you fall at on the curve.
Right? And you're talking about high achieving people who never fell on the curve.
No.
So that's another
ego
blow adjustment to make. Okay. Yeah. So now being in the top third took on new meaning because, I don't know that the teacher said, hey, I'm only going to get 1A this semester or whatever. But so many people are going to fall on this curve. Again, it could be different, but I went to a school that had a C plus curve, which meant that the majority of the students were going to all make C pluses. So to end up in the top third of the class, you needed to make a B plus, or an A.
That's crazy.
And I remember being in my contracts class, and I kid you not, I think 7 students scored higher than a C plus. I got a B. But 7 students, I think she had like 1A, and my section was like 90 people or something. Something something crazy like that. And so, anyway, that first semester, you said, was it stressful? So yes, that first semester, I maintained my grades on the top third of the class. I was like, great. That second semester, I was so stressed, so driven, to try to even do better than what I did. I got sick during finals.
Oh, wow.
And I needed,
stress will take
you there. I needed to go to the hospital. One, I was refusing to go to the hospital because I had the test. And then my insurance, I was, they didn't cover you till you was 25. They had some rinky-dink insurance. And now just, all of these different things. And so I didn't do poorly my second semester, but I fell out the top third. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. I'm saying this for all people who think like, hey, you're going to have a straight curve. Life just throws curveballs at you. And I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have any money. I remember calling my parents. And at this time, I'm in law school. My brother is a senior in college. I got a sister that's a sophomore in college, another sister that's and two sisters in high school, And my dad's like, I told you I didn't have no money. No, he didn't. Told you.
It ain't great.
There ain't no money. You know what I'm saying?
Now we got you. My faith got you through undergrad.
So what you gonna do? So no, he didn't say that. But he really was like, I don't know what, and I exhausted all my resources. I emailed the president of Jackson State. I was doing everything. And I ended up talking to the dean of the School of Law. And I went in and I had this whole speech prepared. I was going to tell him I was from East St. Louis. I just always wanted to be a lawyer. I walk in his office, I sit down and I say, no!
Can't even get the story.
I can't get started out. I was years of frustration. It's like, they knew I told you Right. I don't know that I even said anything to me. I mean, I think it's been so long.
Right.
What I remember is crying.
Yeah.
Now, I may have said something, but I think I told him that, I was on a scholarship and I need to be in the top third. I'm like, look at my grades. I told him how I got sick and all of these things. And he said, Miss Anthony, go home and don't worry about it. I went home. And I still was a nervous wreck. I was like, I don't know you, man. Tell me, don't worry about it.
He ain't my cousin.
He didn't. But I got a letter in the mail that said I got a scholarship.
Oh.
I got a merit-based scholarship. And that covered me that next semester. So, baby, when I tell you after that, it never happened again. I maintained.
So you could get your scholarship back once you got back in the summer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I earned it back. I had like a 3.5. I never,
Yeah.
Because I figured out the formula.
Yeah.
It's a formula.
So you finish and you start your career. Did you already know what type of law you wanted to practice?
I did, but I couldn't find a job.
Well, that's the reason why you went into the volunteer. I was wondering, she started with volunteer. Okay,
nice. I was working at the Limited. I was volunteering. I was tutoring kids in Cahokia.
But that's the good thing because sometimes we be like, I did all this. I know I'm about to be successful, and it doesn't always happen that way.
I was clerking for Judge Bobby DeLauder, and y'all might not know him, but he initially was the prosecutor that prosecuted Byron De La Beckwith, who was the man that killed Medgar Evers.
Yes.
And baby, I was thrilled to be clerking for him. But things happen. You can Google it. And I was like, okay, I can't stay. I can't stay in Jackson. I'm not going to have a clerkship here. And so I took the Illinois bar. And in 2008, we were in a recession.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
They were snatching offers. And I hadn't thought that I was going to come home really. So I didn't have any connections. And that's why I started off as a volunteer lawyer. But it helped because when I got my first job, my boss was like, do you know why we hired you? And I was like, no. Because it was like an all-white firm. It was all-white firm. It was all men except for one woman who was married with children, and we had nothing in common. He said, because you're the only person that we saw that was working. Because nobody else could get a job.
Yeah.
And he was like, we figured you could at least do one thing. That's how I got the job. So no, I was working at the Limited. I was volunteering as an attorney, and now I'm on the board for Land of Lincoln, and they have a space. I told them they should start calling it the Joslyn internship because now they have a space for volunteer staff attorneys. And I just, because they were like, we don't know what to do with you, because they'd had volunteer attorneys before, but they had they didn't have their license. They had to be supervised. And so I'm like, no, I'm here to volunteer my services. I got it. So I put on my one little black suit. I go in there every day. And then in the evening, my dad, who used to deliver he still works for FedEx, but he used to deliver boxes at the mall, and they all loved him because he brought their paychecks. Knew a lady that worked at Limited, and she gave me a job, and I was working there. And look, y'all, it was embarrassing. Yeah. In a way, I mean, it should not have been embarrassing, but I felt like it was embarrassing.
Well, we have this idea. I don't know if you, but I went off to school. I did all these things. I beat the odds, and I'm back here, and I can't find no job. And even some people, because I've had people say to me, "Well, you did all that, and you still like when I was living, like you back here, anyway, you know." And it kind of messes with you, like, I am. What's happening? You know?
Yeah.
But I think we need that grace and space to actually grow. And when I look back, it was like I had the degree, but I didn't have the mindset or the skill set. And you need both of them. You can't just have a degree. You got to bring something to the table, and you got to get your mindset, because that's what was holding me back a lot. So
I don't know. I feel like that space. It was just an opportunity, I think. I bring everything back to God, really to just kind of trust Him more and give Him my career. When you're in law school, when you make certain grades, people start saying you should do this, you should do that. I always knew I wanted to fight for Black folk. It's real simple. I knew that I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to be a strong advocate, and I wanted people to say she ain't no joke. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to be taken seriously. I mean, at that point, I think I had gotten over, this. And it didn't matter. I had the degree. I don't care. I didn't care if you thought I was smart or not. At this point, I got the degree.
This is your confidence coming through. I know I can do this. I'm here. I got this.
I'm here, and I want to be taken seriously. But working at Limited helped because I got my pants 50% off.
But you some more work clothes.
Work clothes, you know what I'm saying? I had something to wear to my first interviews. So it was.
But you do land a job. Yeah. You land a job with the law offices of Evelyn Lewis. Is that?
I ended up with Evelyn Lewis. That was probably my big target job. Because it was really on target. No pun intended, with what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I'd had a couple of other jobs before then. By the time I got to Evelyn, I was actually working in the prosecutor's office when Evelyn approached me. And so I started working, and Evelyn was a dynamic force. It was the first time I'd seen a Black person running a business. And I didn't go into Evelyn's office thinking I thought I was going to stay with Evelyn forever. I love working in Evelyn's office. I thought I was going to just... I was going to be there. But while I was there were things that I started wanting to implement and do that now I realize were a part of my own vision for my own firm. But at the time, I just was like, hey, we dynamic Black women, we out here, just getting it.
Right.
We was making money too. I was like, I do this forever. Why?
Right. That's something that people don't really understand, because it's like you're there working and you're making money. Then to go out onto your firm, you got to spend money. You got to spend a lot of money.
And why you want to spend money? I'm making a salary. I'm making some extra on the side.
Exactly.
You paying the bills.
Yeah.
So what made you go off to so you're there, you're making money, you're doing great, you love the space, like you wanted to do your own thing. How was that journey?
I don't know that I wanted to do my own thing.
Okay.
I got married and became a mommy.
Okay.
And I could not be the lawyer that I was with those changes in my life. That's just it. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, I love working. My husband, he called my office my sanctuary, and I think that's a big far.
Not necessarily.
But I mean, I love what I do. I think that I was born to do what I do. I think I was born to be a mouthpiece, period. So whether it's at home, in the pulpit, in the courtroom, that's what I was born to do. So I I know people lament working long hours, but it don't feel like work to me.
Yeah. So it's your creative space.
Yeah, it's my creative space. So and my power hours is from 10 to 3. Now, before and after that, you know what you're gonna get. But but I could work 12 hours without blinking. Go in at 7, do stuff before.
I know, me too. I think she can too. I can too.
But you got a baby at home.
You can't do it no more.
And so we tried to kind of make that space work, and some other things happened. But one of my very dear friends, who's also a lawyer, and I just started talking about opening up a firm. And what I loved about her was we decided we had met each other as younger attorneys. And we just always said we weren't going to be each other's competition. We were going to be each other's biggest supporters. Okay. And it came out of competition because we were both interviewing for the same job. And I said, dang, another black girl.
Because they only going to choose one. They only going to choose one
of us. And they chose me first, but you became judge first. But y'all don't even want to be a judge. But at the time, but what we said was we were never again gonna do that. Okay. Once we became good friends and colleagues, we just said, one, there are not that many of us, so there's gonna always likely be a space where we could potentially be pitted against each other, but we won't be pit bulls. And
because a lot of times they want you to be like that.
They want you to be like that.
Like in a scary situation.
No, I love her. She is my dearest friend to this day. And because we had that very candid conversation, we could trust each other. Yeah. Because we just knew that neither of us would be backhanded toward each other. So we started off at Sandifer Purchase in 2017. And then the following year, Black Judgeship. No, just the following year, a judgeship came open, and they were like, it's gonna be Sandifer Purchase, and I said, and it's not that it was my choice to make, but the Lord literally set me down and was like, it's Tamika, and it was, and so whatever influence, if there was any, that I had, all went to support her. She had the temperament to do it. She had the desire to do it. And again, I'm a mouthpiece. I want to be able to say what I want to say.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And so I think she was the best person for it, but it was never even a competition like that. I mean, really, the Lord said something, and she didn't want to tell me, and we had just started something so beautiful. And still, I'm grateful to her though, because it was just, I'm a big picture person, and she's like I'm big to small. She's small to big. And
that's why y'all work together.
Yeah. She handled all that. I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this. She's like, but we got to do all of this stuff together.
I am the big picture. I have to hire.
Look, that's funny because I'm the person. Okay, but we got to do this.
And I'm like, right? Like we got to do all these things.
I'm like, tell me about when we get there.
Mine. Can we hire somebody? Nobody can hire you.
Right. What I'm saying? And
so, take out steps 1 through 3. Right. You can hire somebody to do those.
We can.
I'm telling you.
It was beautiful. And so we've been going, this is our 8th year. We bought a building in 22.
Congratulations.
And it's beautiful. But wow. So I'm enjoying that space, and the other attorney in the office is wonderful. We just, it's been a lot of different iterations of what started at Sandifer Purchase, then turned into Sandifer and Associates. Another judge has come out of that as well.
Oh, so this is pretty much your own. This is just you.
Yeah, but another I want to have 12 lawyers like Jesus had.
I was just about to say. So can't you see yourself now taking on other attorneys and teaching and helping them and giving them a space?
Oh yeah, for sure. So there's one attorney that's already there, Attorney Davis, and hopefully by 2026 we're gonna bring in somebody else. But I told him I'm not moving again. So even when we move into our 3-story space, at least because now I have a vision of doing something where You know, I mean, I want to have so many things. I want to have a daycare, not for myself, but for the lawyers, the Black women lawyers that I employ. They try to figure out what I'm going to do with this 3-year-old. They got to be picked up by 3, but I got to work till 6. You know what I'm saying? To be able to cater to women in a way that, the space just hadn't even thought about yet. You know, when I have a chef, you can go ahead and take your food home so your babies can eat.
Yeah, making it better for people like yourself that want to be bosses, but you still got a lot to juggle. And a lot of times they don't like the system isn't designed for us to thrive in those type of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in that space, what I see is just an opportunity for women to grow, thrive, and not necessarily, I'm not going to even call it be burdened, but not have to be worried with the things that we take on as responsibility in reference to our lives and our children, and just kind of create those spaces where you're free to work and think. Because if I know where my child is, if I know that dinner is done, I'll be like, Google, clothes wash.
Right, you didn't take off that mental load that a lot of us have to carry in addition to the work and the clients that we serve.
That's right.
And then they can be better employees for you too. So it's just an all around win.
Yeah, great lawyers out here advocating, slicing.
So this is your space. You feel good. You feel good in this space right now. The part of your career, the balance and all.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as balance, it's ever changing. I think when you're a wife and you have children or whatever you're like, especially Black women, we are always so many things. Even if we're not wives and mothers, we're caretakers, we're first responders for our families. We just take on all of these roles and responsibilities. So I think that balance, though it's the Lord's just delight, is something that I'm ever trying to attain.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know that
it's kind of hard. I think you're always out of balance in some kind of capacity.
Yeah. It's hard, but I'm happy with what we're doing and trying to maintain. Your kids get older, things change in your life, but I am happy.
So let me ask you, if someone's sitting here now and they want to get to the space where you have this successful firm, what's some advice you would give them?
I think that's tough. Try Jesus.
And listen.
I would say if I had to say anything though, I would really say dream as big as you can. I would just say dream like a kid. I think sometimes, and I read that somewhere, that's not original, but when we get older, sometimes life dictates how we think about what we're going to do next. And I would you got to write your vision, all of that, like all of the grit stuff that somebody else is going to tell you. I'm going to say dream like you're a kid first. Because the Bible does say that he'll do exceedingly abundantly above all that you could ask or think. Amen. And so I try to make my thoughts as lofty as possible, which is why I talk about my multi-million-dollar building that's not yet here. That's going to house both a law firm and an accounting firm and a medical practice. So hopefully my sister Joy will take on my clients. And a daycare center and a nursery. Because you're going to do above that. So I would just start off by saying dream as big as you can with childlike imagination.
Yeah, I love that. Well, yes, Joslyn, you are a Black boss lady.
And your legacy will live on the Black Boss Ladies Platform podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the BBL Platform podcast, the place where legacies live. We hope you will join us on our next inspirational journey to success. Be sure to rate, like, and subscribe to our show. For more information, please visit our website at theBBLplatform.com.